The Poison Boy. The rain fell heavily the night Ngozi arrived at her husband's house as a new wife. She stepped out of the taxi with confidence, her expensive wrapper brushing against the muddy ground. The villagers watched quietly from their verandas. Everyone knew she was becoming the second wife of Chief Okeke after the first wife, Amara, died. During childbirth years ago, but Amara left behind a son, little Kelechi. He was only 7 years old when Ngozi entered the house, holding tightly to his father's hand, his eyes filled with fear and uncertainty. At first, Ngozi pretended to love him. My son, she would call sweetly. Whenever Chief Okeke was around, she cooked for him, bought him clothes, and even carried him on her lap in public. The villagers praised her kindness, but once the doors closed, her smile vanished. Useless child, she hissed one afternoon after Kelechi accidentally spilled water on the floor. You think this house belongs to you? The boy trembled silently. Years passed, and Ngozi gave birth to her own son, Chibueze. From that day, hatred grew stronger inside her heart. Everything changed. The best food went to Chibueze. The best clothes went to Chibueze. The father's attention slowly shifted too. But something disturbed Ngozi deeply. Despite the suffering, Chief Okeke still loved Kelechi
It is
dearly.
my great honor
You are
and
my
privilege
first
to
son,
announce
he
my
will
first
always
son,
say proudly.
Kelechi,
One
as the
day,
rightful heir to
everything
the
I own will
chieftaincy.
belong to you.
It is my great honor
Those
and
words
privilege to
poisons
announce
Ngozi's
my
heart
first son,
more than
Kelechi,
anything else.
as the rightful
One
heir to the
evening, she
chieftaincy.
sat alone in her room, staring into darkness while Chibeze slept beside her. If Kelechi disappears, she whispered to herself, my son will inherit everything. That thought became an obsession. Weeks later, an opportunity came. Chief Okeke traveled to Abuja for a business meeting, leaving the family behind. Ngozi smiled secretly. That evening, she prepared pounded yam and egusi soup. The aroma filled the compound. Kelechi returned from school hungry and exhausted. Mama, the food smells nice, he said softly. Ngozi forced a smile. Yes, my son, I made it specially for you. Inside the soup was poison, a deadly powder given to her secretly by an old herbalist in a neighboring village. Just a little, the woman had won, enough to stop the heart. Ngozi carefully poured the poison soup into a separate bowl meant for Kelechi. Then someone knocked at the gate. She hurried outside to speak with a neighbor who came to borrow kerosene. The conversation lasted only a few minutes, but when Ngozi returned, her heart nearly stopped. The bowls had been moved. Kelechi and Chibeze were both eating happily at the table. No, she whispered. Her eyes searched desperately for the poison bowl. But it was too late. Mama Kelechi gave me his own because yours had more meat. Chibeze laughed innocently. The spoon fell from Kelechi's hand. Fear gripped her throat. Eating! She screamed. The boys froze. But within moments, Chibueze began coughing violently. Foam gathered at the corner of his mouth. Mama, my chest, he cried weakly. Ngozi rushed towards him in panic. No, no, somebody help. Kelechi stood trembling in confusion as neighbors rushed into the compound. Chibeze collapsed on the floor. By the time they reached the hospital, he was dead. Dead. Ngozi's only son. The entire village mourned, but whispers spread quickly. People noticed her strange behavior, her shaking hands, her terrified eyes. Whenever anyone mentioned the food, 3 days later, the herbalist she bought the poison from was arrested in another village for a similar crime. Under pressure, the old woman confessed everything. Ngozi was exposed. Chief Okeke nearly lost his mind when he heard the truth. You tried to kill my son, he roared in disbelief, and you killed your own child instead. Ngozi fell to the ground, crying uncontrollable. I didn't mean for Chibueze to die. I only wanted a slap cut her words short. Kelechi stood silently in the corner, tears running down his face. He had lost a stepbrother who truly loved him despite everything. The villagers said Ngozi became a shadow of herself after that day. Some claimed she wandered at night, calling Chibueze's name. Others said she spoke to empty rooms, begging for forgiveness. But no forgiveness could bring back the innocent child. Her wickedness destroyed. And in the end, the grave she dug for another woman's son became the grave that swallowed her own happiness forever.